Hi everyone, welcome to Mama Star X channel. Alright, so this video I'm going to talk about the portals of April. I was kind of wondering whether, it was necessary for me to give you this information. Sometimes I do these videos in English and sometimes I don't. Basically I focus more in Spanish language, not because I have a preference, it's more because I feel like a lot of the information that I provide is already being provided in English. So when it comes to Spanish audience, I feel like there's still a lot going on where people seem to be sleep. I mean, and I'm not saying that Spanish speakers or people in Latin America are not waking up, but I feel like it's just my perception. I'm not saying that I'm right, but my perception is that they're still kind of left behind, or maybe they're just not up to date with this process of self-empowerment. How do we get our power back? So that's why I sometimes, do more things for them than in English. But there are times when I'm being guided to say to do this in both languages, and this is one of those moments. And here's where I want to clarify that there's a lot of things happening in our planet right now that can get really confusing. There's a lot of the manipulation that is coming out that is horrible, because we're in one of those moments where we're facing all the ugliness of especially those people that are in power and have chosen to use that power against their own people, against us. So, there's so much manipulations going on that are based on fear. And fear is one of those energies that will not allow us to see beyond what's happening in front of us. So fear has this quality of limiting our perceptions. So if we don't work on understanding our power and how to bringing our power back, we then become a subject of manipulation, a subject of being manipulated in a way that we feel that, we are not good enough to make the correct decisions to decide what's healthy and what's not, what's true and what's not. So those of us who have woken up already and have done a lot of the processes of integration. So it's not a process that is just, you go through it and you're finished. No, it's a process that is happening constantly at different levels, but it's happening constantly. But those of us who have woken up already and have stabilized our emotions to feel comfortable enough with the ugliness and the light, we are creating means of information that can help other people that are just starting this process. And here's where you're going to see people that are focused in a particular area of information to give us updates of situations that are happening that the media is not doing. While there's those of us who are focusing on helping those who are ready to have a better idea and awareness of how to use their power, make it happen. So I'm one of those people that I have a channel where I try to provide the information that I use myself to help empower myself with others. So be mindful of where you're at and how you feel within yourself about the work that needs to be done. Because just waking up, that's not all of it. It's just the beginning process. And it's a process where it leads you to integrate all the pain and all that you've forgotten and all of your connections of how you got here. And this is an aspect of your power that is really important as you becoming self-empowered. And there's a lot of people that have woken up, but there's a lot of people that still need to wake up, and things are going to get more ugly as we go through this process. Because if some people are refusing to wake up, and then more things are going to happen that is horrible, but it needs to come out so that those people finally realize that if you don't know yourself, you're giving your power away. And it is not until that power is in your hand that you're not making better choices, because this idea that other people needs to decide whether, you know, I need to do this to feel healthier because they know better, is flawed. You know better than anybody what feels right for you. And it is not until you start professing and being an advocate of those feelings that you're not in your true power. And there's a lot of manipulations that are happening to weaken your decisions and to make you doubt about what you're feeling. And that happens because, again, if you are using a lot of programs that are based on fear, you do not see beyond of those fears. And those are programs that make you feel like you need help and you need to rely on other people to feel safe. And usually you will rely on people that are not going to help you to feel safe. They're going to manipulate you so that you continue to give up your power. So these are very important times in the history of our evolution. And every voice counts, but not based on anger and fear. It's based on what is possible. So I'm here to provide options that can help you feel more connected. So that's my aim. Sometimes I may seem like, you know, I am in my own bubble and, you know, I'm not taking into account all the ugliness that is happening around the globe. But don't be fooled and deceived. I come across that way, but I'm very well aware of the level of evil that we are harnessing right now. I just don't need to go that deep because it's just not the work that I'm doing. My job and my purpose is to provide you with the knowledge that is going to help you understand your own power, your own light. And once you do that, and then dwell in all the ugliness and choose what's your purpose then, because we all have a purpose. All right, so now that we're clear, let's get into the portals. I'm going to make two videos. One where I'm going to speak about the portals and according to the vibrations of number 4, what are the days and, you know, the influence in those portals. And then I'm going to talk about the houses that came up, which speaks specifically of the work that we're doing. So some portals we already passed through, but the frequencies or the energies, or we're still feeling the effect of those energies, okay? Because, you know, when we know that we're going to have a full moon, for example, on April 16, we know that it's not just one day. You know, the effects of that moon, we're going to feel it. Could be a week before, it could be 3 days, it could be, I don't know, even a month. Because as we are raising our frequency, these energies, the guidelines of one energy to the next change. And they kind of all become blended in. And it all depends on how you feel them. And that is depending on the level of awareness that you find yourself right now, and how you're shifting your consciousness and, becoming more aware of your own energies. All right, so the first portal is a connecting portal and started on the 30th of March and it ended on 4th of April. And we see here, or we saw a period of 5 days where it was all about the moon. So here's where, the moon for some reason has become this body of awareness that is trying to tell us something. And, we know that we have new moons and full moon every month. But when we're having new moons in the beginning of the month and in the end of the month, that means something. That's trying to tell us something. Now, it's very interesting because I remember last year I did a ceremony, a healing ceremony, moon ceremony in Santa Fe. And this is an area where it's filled with ancestral portals. So it's all about the old ways. So it took me 3 days to put together this medicine wheel. I had to go to the river. I had to ask for permissions to the spirits of the land. I mean, it's something that is just not you coming and getting people together and done. No, it's about working with the forces of the land and the forces of the river and the forces of the moon, right? So it's a process. But in that process, I asked, what is really the moon? What's the energy of the moon about? I mean, we know that the moon affects our emotions, the tides. It represents cycles that farmers use when they're planting. So there's a lot of power to the moon, and a lot of high priests, they use the moon energy to do sometimes ceremonies or work that could be very positive, but sometimes very evil, because there's a quality about the moon that we can use to manipulate and nurture evil. So the answer that I was given was that the moon was the astral body of the earth. And I finally realized in recent times that, okay, so if the moon is the astral body of the earth, and she's going through these changes month to month, where we could see the rebirth, the growing, the fullness, and the dying, and then that means that our astral body is going through the same process. So if we were to align ourselves to the cycles of the moon, we will have a better understanding of when our astral body is going through deeper changes. It's not that we don't go through changes all the time. Remember, we live in a reality that is based on change. Although we have made believe that, oh no, we need to reinforce sameness, consistency. It's kind of like going against the river. The nature of our realities change, but let's do everything possible to stop that change or resist that change. And no wonder we're so much in trouble. No wonder why we get so much in trouble. Because change is unavoidable. But when you align yourself to that energy of change, oh my goodness, what a difference. So our astral body goes through changes, sometimes superficial changes, sometimes deeper changes. But it's what allows you to change your points of views. So this idea that you have about becoming better is only possible because of changes. And it's also made possible by the level of changes that you're making as you're more aware of how you're doing it. Big difference when you're trying to make a change and you don't really know what you're doing, and you're kind of at the mercy of what's available to you outside yourself and what other people are deciding to do and how they're going to do it, right? Then when that moment in time that you need to say, you know what, the door is closed, because the energy is close. It's time for me to move on because I don't want to waste my time and my energy. So, we use this concept so superficially. I don't have time because my energy is very valuable, and the time, we don't see it as our energy. We see it as time. My time is so important. God damn it, it's not your time, it's your energy. You haven't been taught how to preserve your own energy. But then you're worrying about fucking time. If time only exists in this reality, it's an illusion. But it's the illusion that we use to be able to learn something and understand it in a deeper way. So sometimes one experience that you have is not enough to understand a subject, or it's not enough data for you to work with. So then you have to have a series of different experiences so that you can regain more data and then decide. And that's when time comes in. So whatever time it takes you to learn something and learn different perspectives of that same energy is what creates time. Once you get it, you're outside time. But remember, you haven't been taught how to preserve your own energy. You've been taught how to use it, misuse it, until you get old and there's nothing more to do. But you have the qualities and the capabilities of preserve energy, because we live in a reality where the universe is going through these changes and cycles of destruction, but also preservation. So the methods that we can use to preserve energy have been taken away from us, because there's plenty of knowledge of how to do that. And you've been guided to use programs that is all about using your power, giving your power away, and not preserving your energy. So that's why you have the tendency to say, oh, time is money. No, time is energy. Your energy. That if you don't know how to use it, you misuse it. And if you don't know how to preserve it, and then you waste it. And this is how you grow old and feeble and believing that you're unworthy. That's all changing. But the moon here is the celestial force that represents your astral body. Many of us call that body soul, our spirit. And your astral body goes through changes every time you decide to change your points of views. And right now, family, we're not just changing our points of views lightly. We're waking up. And we're realizing that we are much, much more, that we are very powerful beings. But we have been lied to, and we have let those lies make us believe that we are not capable of taking care of our own business. That we don't have what it takes. We don't have the intelligence to take care of our own power. So ask yourself, is that true? And if you feel that you have what it takes to take care of your own power, and then you need to really change your priorities and become more focused about how you're using your energy. How are you spending your time? Who are you listening to? Because whatever you focus, energy follows. And it's all about how you feel. Understanding all your different operating systems and which ones really work for you to help you know right away if what you're thinking is the right thought, or if the news that you're listening is the right news. Because your feeling mechanism is the one that tells you right away the nature of those frequencies. But you see, there's so many ways in which we've been taught how to behave that is self-destructive, that is ridiculous. Because one of those ways is when you say, I'm too old to change. Ah, I'm so used to, my mind drives me nuts and I don't know how to work it, but it's my mind, so this is who I am, so be it. Or, well, yeah, shit is happening out there, but it has nothing to do with me. Because I'm in my own little reality, and as long as I don't kill anybody, I'm a good person. But every day I sit in front of TV and I listen to the news and I'm horrified with the news and I'm full of fear. But you know what? There's nothing I could do. All I can do is feed that fear. And you're giving your power away, but you know what? You're basically excusing that behavior. And you're not understanding that you're giving your power away. So there's so many different ways that we can give our power away that is fucking ridiculous. And people, come on, it's time to really get it together. I mean, I'm not here to force anybody these ideas, but we gotta wake up and smell the coffee. And the coffee is not about self-destroying this planet or being made to believe that, oh yeah, you have no control. Look at the weather changes, the climate changes. This is all happening, and what's going to happen to you? Everything is happening for a reason, and a lot of the things that are happening are just illusions. But on one side, it's sometimes what some people needs to wake up because they're refusing to do it. And on the other hand, those of us that are already awake, we know that it's a game. It's a fucking game, and it's not a very pretty one. Because right now, look at what's happening in Australia. It's awful what's happening over there, and you know what? They're not telling us, they're not showing you. And they're making you believe that it's just people that, are playing games and, oh yeah. I mean, I think that more and more people are realizing that, oh my goodness, what the fuck is happening? But it is impossible to observe those situations if you're not in your own power and be helpful. So in other words, when you're in your own power and you observe that situation, and then you are self-aware and capable of making better decisions for yourself, and just not buying into anything that it doesn't feel in alignment with your own truth. And truth is always changing. So we have this new moons happening in the beginning of the month and in the end of the month. So there's a lot of new moon happening that is talking about the shift in consciousness that we're having, and especially the psychic abilities that are being ignited as we speak. Because, as I said, moon is representing our feminine energy, our divine feminine. I mean, within these qualities, we hold our emotions, our feelings, our intuition, our clairvoyance, our telepathy. So these are incredible qualities that we have. But with all of this new moon, it's basically saying, yeah, you just went through a major process of purification, and I spoke about that in the month of February and March. March was all about readjusting your energy. I had many experiences that were very uncomfortable in March, but I knew that it was residue. It was emotions that I needed to let go. So if I was not able to do it before the month of March with the moon in Virgo, that full moon in Virgo was really intense. A lot of us felt it. Some of us might have had a difficult time understanding why we were feeling the way we were, as well as why we're feeling the way we're feeling now. But there was a lot of garbage that was coming out to the surface, just like is happening in our planet right now. So if it's happening socially and politically, of course it's telling you that it's happening individually. To you, it may be differently than the collective, but it's all connected. So we got to start thinking in that way, that if I'm having a problem right now, well, energetically, where is that problem coming from? You know, connecting the dots, because we have gotten very used to operating from a physical perspective about division. And you know, it's dividing and conquering. But when you start understanding the energy perspective, you start uniting. And in that union, you start expanding how you see things, and you become more clear. So it's really important right now that instead of reacting to a situation, that we count to 10, take a few deep breaths, and pay attention to how we're feeling. Because it's really hard to see things clearly, or to see things clear if you're feeling afraid. It will be really difficult for you to understand the answers to your questions if you're feeling afraid, or if you're feeling agitated, or if you're feeling disconnected. So our feelings is the guiding system that tells us whether we're connected, our antenna is connected to the, the universal mind, or if we're disconnected. So if you're disconnected and all your operating systems are not working properly, do you think that's a really good moment for you to make a decision? And if you do you think it's going to be a decision that is going to be healthy for you? And this applies in every area of your life. Now, when you're changing and you're becoming more self-aware, your astral body is changing in the same way the moon does. And those are moments where you need to rest, where you need to pay attention to what's coming up, because it's a process that incorporates other stuff that are happening simultaneously. So let's say that you're becoming more aware and more telepathic. That's an aspect of your power. Well, as you're feeling that, you're also going to feel more sensitive to energy. The energy of your own emotions, the discord that may be, there in those emotions. In the same way, you're going to feel about your environment, your outside environment. There are so many different frequencies that are available to us. And it's a mixed bag of high frequencies with lower frequencies. And here you're in the middle of all this. There's this lady who channels Pleiadian energy, and she says, this era was known as the frequency war. And I believe to be true. So many different frequencies, and you are the reader and the scanner of those frequencies. So depending on where you're at mentally and conscientiously, you're going to read the frequencies that by the law of attraction relates to you. You're not going to pick up the frequencies that are way out in the, understanding that your power and that, we can create all of this incredible technology and we can live in harmony, and we are. Some of us already are living more in harmony. You're going to pick up the ones that relate to you, what you think about yourself, what you perceive in your reality. That's just the rule of the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, all of these different principles. So whatever you're feeling right now is based on the level of awareness that you have about you, about your life, and about the life in this planet. Your understanding of those situations. So the moon, we had this new moon in Aries, 5 days transition. We were feeling it before then, I don't know, I felt a change, a shift. especially after 2 weeks being in bed, purging so much stuff that I had made peace with before, but my body needed to let it go. Why? Because now my astral body went through a major shift. And this is like having surgery. We go to the hospital and we have surgery, and the next day they say, you got to walk, you got to get going, you got to leave the hospital. But that's not really the right approach, because the body is going through a major change that has to readjust itself, and the best option is to rest. That's why there are so many people sick. If you think about it, we have all this advanced technology in healthcare, but at the same time, we're sicker than ever. And it should be the other way around. If we're advancing, we're using more advanced technology about our health, we should have less sick people. But no. But you see, we don't have time to think about that, because it's all about my material reality and what I think I need to have in order to feel satisfied. And I'm being told that I need to have all of this. So we just kind of follow suit and, just like a cattle. And we're not a cattle. We are human beings. Humans, beings of light, made of photon. And we have been a part of a huge experiment, genetic experiment. And we're in one of those moments where we are activating genetic codes from different beings in our galaxy that contributed and participated in this experiment to see whether we can create a vehicle that could operate at many different levels. But we, the consciousness in this vehicle, need to get up the speed so that we can understand how to activate the genetic codes in this vehicle and be more multidimensional and use it in a way that it's more aligned to being a being of light. But you see, when we listen to readings, we don't talk about this. We're more caught up in the drama, as if that's going to help us change and find the solutions for change. But it's time to get deeper in the understanding of what this really represents. So we have the next portal, the 4th of April until the 13th, a period of 9 days. And every time I throw a number, you know that I'm talking specifically about a house in astrology as well in, a major arcana in tarot. 9 is Sagittarius, the Hermit. And we know that this is the card that says we are in this search for enlightenment, to illuminate our consciousness, just like Buddha did. 4, the Emperor. Our masculine qualities, the aspect that helps us to receive an inspiration and to take initiatives. But the initiatives that the Emperor is going to take is based on your Empress. And that's your divine feminine. All energy is divine. We just kind of left that aspect out. But we're divine beings. So when I talk about the Emperor, I'm talking about your divine masculine. And when I'm talking about your Empress, I'm talking about your divine feminine. And we know that the divine feminine doesn't come alone. She comes with this intuition. It also is the one that helps mix the elements, the idea with how we feel about it and the actions that we're going to take. And we know that affects our astral body so that the DNA can change and help us adapt to the new frequencies. So you see, your divine feminine is just as important as your divine masculine. And not until you start working with those two aspects of you in a way that makes balance, you don't start feeling that balance in your life, as well as in your experiences. So that work starts inside you. So there are moments where you're going to take an initiative because you have a great idea, but then you got to rely on your Empress. What does your Empress feels in regards to those energies? And a lot of times the Empress has a really difficult time because she's also holding the memories of all the traumas and all the pain. So we need to let go of that pain, and the only way we can do it is by understanding our power and helping purify these qualities and reestablish the peace between them. Very different aspects, but they need to work together as a team. So if you do not learn how to work between your head and your heart, your instincts and your logic, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And no wonder you're having such a difficult time knowing what to do. No wonder why you're feeding so much fears and pain and depression. Depression. No wonder you're depressed. Because there's a tug of war inside yourself, and that's enough to create disharmony. It's not about the war that is happening outside the other part of the planet. That is just a representation of what is happening right now. As a matter of fact, everything that is happening right now out in the surface is an extension of the things we're doing inside ourselves. Everybody is behaving differently, and every situation at the level of this balance or imbalance that is happening is expressing what we're feeling internally. So if we see war and we see horrible things based in manipulation, and then there's a large percentage still of human beings that are feeding manipulation, maybe not at the degree that we see it out, in the open, but at some level, yeah. So we're still manipulative, we're still emphasizing our dark side, our shadow side, with these ideas of power and how to use power and how to take advantage of other people because it's the only way. It's like we've been taught that abundance is only just for the powerful people, and all of these are lies. They are illusions, but they're going to feel real because of the way you think and the type of definitions that you have about you and your energy. But when you start opening your awareness to the understanding that you're a powerful being and genetically you have codes that represent superpowers, pretty much superpowers. But not until you start doing this work, you will not start feeling that power. So here's where faith comes in. And we have learned to think, okay, not until I see it, I don't believe it. Another program that is flawed, but we say it all the time. No, prove to me that it's true and then I'll believe you. Well, guess what? When you start feeling frequencies and you start relying on that operating system, you start feeling energies that you may not see, but you know that they're there. It's kind of like when you are in a dark room and you sense the presence of somebody else, right? A lot of times your mind says, oh, you're making that up, but you're sensing it. And sometimes those sensations become enhanced. And there's this power struggle because the mind is saying, but I don't see anything. And your body's saying, yeah, there is something here. Remember? I think everybody, you can raise your hand. How many people have gone through something like that? I think all of us have gone through. So when you start working within yourself and relying on the operating systems that are more efficient to scan frequencies, trust me, you're going to start seeing that not everything that you're told is true. Because I get a lot of that question from people, well, how do I know that it's true? When do I know that I need to do something? feel it. Get acquainted with your feeling system and remove a lot of these definitions that are corrupting your perception of how that operating system works. Sometimes people don't know what they're feeling, but that's because they've been taught not to trust themselves. And how many times have we made a choice or a decision that we know that our instincts are telling us, don't do it, our empress, don't do it, and we go and do it. So then later to say, oh, you know what, I felt it. I had that feeling, but you know what? I just don't trust my own self. I trust other people. So how long for how long do we need to behave in this way to get the point across, to get it, to understand what we're capable of? How long, how many experiences do we need to have where we go against our own instincts to prove that our instincts are right? So ask yourself that. How many times do I have to go through this? And if I do, what am I trying to prove? Because unfortunately, a lot of the decisions that we make sometimes are based on our self-esteem. And when we don't have a good self-esteem, we make poor choices. But the reason why we don't have a good self-esteem is because we don't understand our power. And when you don't understand our power, we give our power away. So you see, everything is connected. And I like to make this video, and sometimes I repeat a lot of the same thing because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get caught up in the drama and forget. And right now, based on the codes, what the codes are telling us is that we are experts. We are hierophants. Each one of us has a hierophant inside. Each one of us is a shaman, meaning a wisdom keeper. But we don't know how to behave like one. And we pretend and we behave like kids, hungry kids. And that's why we have a minority of people in power that are saying, well, these little children that don't know any fucking better, they need help. And we're the ones to help. Really? Really? So let's grow up and smell the coffee. All right. So 2 cycles of 9 days that are going to connect us to the full moon in April 16. And this one is going to be in Libra. So last month was in Virgo. It was all about the work. This one is all about connections. See what I mean? So everything that you've done inside yourself, the process of purification that you've gone through, and the planets have shown that, are now telling you that you're ready for this new beginning. So new moon in Aries and new moon in Taurus with a solar eclipse. Wow. So this is all about our psychic abilities. You're going to be more psychic. But if you are focused in the drama and you're afraid, you're going to use those psychic abilities to nurture a system that needs to stop and needs to collapse. And I said, that was one of my messages last month, you know, there's a major readjustment in our energy fields. Now the moon is telling me, you know, your astral body, once you go through a major shift in consciousness, your astral body goes through the same change. And the moon is constantly letting us know where. Because every house that the moon enters, depending on how she's at or where she's at, it's going to affect that part of our body. And we know that there's health astrology. Vedic astrology, it incorporates all of that, you know, where each astrological house represents a particular organ. But to me, right now, it's like we're in this new beginning. Who am I now? What are my psychic abilities? How am I going to use them? Because now is one of those times where the energy is opening up for us to reconnect with the outside world. And not everybody out there that we called a friend before is a friend. And not every family member that has our own blood is on board with this evolution. So what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Because you have desires. And those desires are representing the level of change that you want to create, not only in your personal reality, but in the world you live in. And every grain of sand counts. And not everybody has to be like pro war and or against war, I'm sorry, or aware of all the disasters and all the ugliness that is coming up to the surface. I believe we need to be self-aware to some degree so that we know what choice to make and how to work with ourselves. But remember, each one of us has a purpose. It's just like a flock of birds. They all unite when they're going to migrate. And there's one in front, but that one that is in front is not necessarily aligned to the other one because it's forcing the other one to go. No, they come together based on alignment because they're following these rhythms of energy that has a lot to do with nature and the universal mind. And we ourselves can do the same, but we have to know how. And I feel like the moon is definitely representing that. I've started to work with the moon 2 years ago, and the more I connect with this energy, oh my goodness, the level of wisdom that you acquire is unbelievable. Remember, the moon has a lot to do with Venus. And Venus in Sumerian time was considered to be one of the most powerful celestial forces there was because it connected nature, water, spirit of the river, the spirit of the divine feminine. And there's a lot of power within the divine feminine. And to be able to access that power, you need to work inside yourself. You need to work with yourself and understand who you are. Because your Empress is the one that connects you to the creative force of the universe and the power of that force. So this is one of those moments, people, where yes, we're called to create and to connect with in small communities. But remember, you don't do that connection based on what you think it should be. It's about how you feel. So your guiding system right now that will help you attain the level of change that you're seeking is your guiding system. So a lot of times people say, well, what kind of meditation should I do? Well, go to YouTube and find somebody and feel that connection. What kind of retreat can I do? What kind of, health or meditation? Well, go and research, get up your ass, research, and see how you feel about what you're researching. That's your guiding system. So we gotta get away from having this, level of laziness of you tell me because I don't have time, I'm too busy working. Your soul is on the line right now, the freedom of your soul. And if your attitude is, I don't have time because of the work that I need to do, and then you're in trouble. I know, and I'm sorry that we have been taught to act that way, to behave that way. Well, you tell me because I don't have the time. So if you tell me, I believe you. And we do it because I like you. The person that you can like the most could be your worst enemy right now. I'm serious. And not because that person wants to be, but it's because of this blind trust where sometimes you hear something from that kind of person and you know that it doesn't feel right, but you buy it because, oh, they like me, they love me, oh, okay. I'm sorry that, I had to come through this way, but it's just such a powerful energy has come up, especially after listening to this woman in Australia. I put that video in my Facebook page where, you know, there's a lot of ugly things that are happening. And I know that it's not my purpose to work in that area of transformation, but if I can share this perspective from my humble place of knowing that, you know, there's a major shift. And right now, the energies are ripe for you to take your power back, but there's so much drama. And that drama is based on fear. And when you're watching things that are making you afraid, making you feel afraid, that's because you're not in your power yet. Because when you are, this stuff doesn't make you feel afraid. As a matter of fact, it makes you feel more the desire of you know, sharing your light and your truth out there to other people and telling them, hey, don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. But you need to wake up. Somebody just asked me a little bit ago, how do I do that? Well, this is an aspect of it. Learn what your body's telling you. What's out of alignment. Find the information that helps you get into alignment. And it's funny because with this third portal here with the full moon, we have a master code. And we have a few master codes this month, but I'll talk about it in the next video. I didn't intend to do this video so long, but you know, there's so many factors that are in tune with this reading and these portals. And I'm not using the conjunctions of astrology that astrology is using. As a matter of fact, I've been asked to step away. Yes, I'm using oracles that relate to the houses and tarot that relates to the major arcana, but to kind of step away from the astrological perspective of the conjunctions that are taking place so that I could see myself how this information, even though it's based on numerology, is very much in tune with the things that we need to do from an astrological perspective. So I'm not saying that this is the only way. I'm saying that this is just another option. An option to help you understand how to focus and feel more connected to you. Because not until you do that, you're not understanding your power. So we're having master numbers, and they're saying that we need to already be mindful and fully aware of what we need to do in certain areas. All right, so I will talk about that in the next video. And then the last portal begins on the 22nd of April until May 5th. And we see here 13 days. So there is a code here of 13 days that relates to temperance and the moon. So it's all about the moon. So for those Cancerians, we know how you feel, because you people are very connected and you're always very sensitive to energy. I think right now we are all bound by Cancer energy. And interesting enough, it's one of the houses that we're working with this month. Wow. So we have a solar eclipse in Taurus. It's going to be partial, but we know that every time if we have a solar eclipse, we're going to have a lunar eclipse. So this is another portal. So it's correct to say that from new moon to new moon, there is a portal within the other portals. And from new moon to full moon, there is another portal. Energy is growing. And then from full moon to full moon, the energy is abundant. It's full. So last month, fullness was in Virgo. There is a completion there. Now is in our connections, outer connections, Libra. And you know, this talks about relationships. Well, everything is based, our whole life is based on relationships. But for those who are seeking, you know, partnerships based on sacred unions, well, the relationship connections are going to definitely shift into a whole new level that is going to be more sacred. Thank God. We needed that. And new moon to new moon, well, Pisces was last month, and we see here the connection, the portal between the unconscious mind to the conscious mind. See what I mean? All that we're drawing from within at the level of expansion that we're achieving, we're now going to use it and put it into practice in this new beginning, because our astral body changed to the degree that is activating codes about your capability stores. You see, it's like amazing, right? Amazing the type of story that we're getting by the repetitions of the numbers. In this case, 4, because it's the energy of April. All right, people. So thank you so much for being here. I hope this made sense. Sorry that it took so long, but it is what it is. So I hope to see you in my next video, where I will be talking about the houses.